It is over for Rachel Zegler. Her career is done. She will be lucky if she makes it on a direct-to-DVD Steven Seagal movie at this point.
The controversies surrounding Disney's Snow White remake show that we are still in the thick of the culture wars. Oh, have we been following the Snow White?
Actually, the first time hearing of this.
Really?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Good for you.
Well,
Is it over for Rachel Zegler's career? Could Disney's Snow White remake be one of the biggest flops in Hollywood history? What was supposed to be a triumphant return to one of Disney's most beloved stories has quickly turned into a disaster, both at the box office and in the court of public opinion. With empty theater seats, viral memes mocking the film, and a growing backlash across the internet, it seems like the magic is gone. This wasn't just a box office bomb, it's become a full-blown cultural implosion, and at the center of it all is Rachel Zegler. So what went wrong? How did this Snow White remake with a hefty $250 million budget become one of Disney's biggest embarrassments in decades? Buckle up, because this story is anything but a fairy tale. It all started with the theaters. The Snow White remake, one of Disney's most anticipated films, was supposed to draw in huge crowds, but instead it's been met with a resounding silence. Theater chains across the country have quietly started pulling the movie from their lineups, with entire screenings disappearing from schedules like a bad magic trick. The reason? Painfully low attendance and dismal feedback from audiences. Some theater owners are reportedly cutting their losses early, choosing to stop showing the film altogether rather than risk further embarrassment. It's not just the theaters that are backing away. Independent retailers are pulling Snow White themed merchandise off their shelves, some even slashing prices by up to 80% in a desperate attempt to get rid of unsold stock. Fans aren't just uninterested, they're rejecting the movie outright. The backlash is so intense that it's projected Disney could lose between $200 million and $400 million on this colossal misfire. What was supposed to be a grand reinvention of the classic fairy tale has instead turned into a cautionary tale of how not to remake a beloved story. And at the heart of it all, Rachel Zegler, whose career now seems to hang in the balance as the Snow White remake continues its freefall. As if things weren't bad enough, the online backlash has escalated to new heights. What was once a lukewarm reception has now morphed into a viral firestorm. Social media is flooded with memes mocking the film, from empty theater photos with captions like 7 dwarves, 7 tickets sold, to jokes comparing the movie to a poorly executed high school play. The hashtag #Snow White flop quickly became a trending topic, and it wasn't just fans sitting on the sidelines. They were actively rejecting the film. The backlash isn't confined to the internet either. Even critics have joined in, with many calling out Disney's latest offering for its misguided attempt at modernizing the classic tale. The film, originally meant to captivate audiences with its updated approach, now feels like a confused mess of forced political messaging and hollow storytelling. Fans aren't just disappointed, they feel betrayed. The movie wasn't just a reimagining of Snow White, it was a dismantling of their childhood memories. The cultural implosion surrounding Snow White isn't just about a failed film, it's about how the modern, politically charged storytelling went too far. Disney's attempt to rewrite a beloved classic has backfired, and the more people talk about it, the worse it gets for the film's reputation. At the heart of this unfolding disaster is Rachel Zegler, who was supposed to be the shining star of the Snow White remake. She was Disney's next big thing, young, talented, and fresh off her breakout role in West Side Story. But when she stepped into the spotlight to promote the film, everything started to unravel. Instead of embracing the legacy of Snow White with reverence, Zegler came out swinging. She didn't just criticize the plot, she dismissed the entire premise of the original story, calling the prince a stalker and implying that the romantic arc was outdated and problematic. Her tone was cold, detached, and oddly arrogant, especially for someone stepping into a role that millions of people have cherished for decades. But it wasn't just her criticism of the classic tale that turned heads. It was her viral comment about getting paid for every hour she wore the Snow White dress. This remark, which she made in an interview, quickly went viral and set social media ablaze. Critics and fans alike called her entitled, ungrateful, and disrespectful toward the very character she was hired to portray. Instead of toning things down, Zegler doubled down, liking tweets that defended her, retweeting fans who praised her blunt honesty, and continuing to distance herself from the story she was supposed to honor.
I mean, they're projected to lose between 2 and 400 million on this.
It's over. It's a wrap. Because her entire career rested on this Snow White movie being a success, and it ain't looking good. Look at this, 46%. That's horrible. That's a disaster, bro. That ain't good. You might as well just, you know, I typically say just release this garbage on Disney Plus, but no. I think they should just upright, just not even, just forget this. Just try to erase this movie from existence completely at this point.
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is, she's not going to be safe with a prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign. I am.
I don't want to gag myself on the air, so I won't do that. You know what bothers me more than anything about this? These stories are invented by women.
The Snow White remake promised to breathe new life into a classic, but instead it has left fans feeling betrayed. Disney's attempt to modernize the beloved fairy tale stripped away the very elements that made it magical. The enchanting world that fans grew up with was replaced by a politically charged, message-driven story that felt more like a lecture than a fairy tale. Instead of the iconic 7 dwarfs, Disney opted for an assortment of magical forest creatures, an odd decision made to avoid offending anyone, but in doing so, they ended up offending everyone. From fantasy fans to dwarf advocacy groups, no one seemed happy with the changes. The lack of Prince Charming was another glaring flaw. In an effort to modernize the story, Disney removed the romantic storyline altogether, claiming that the original kiss felt outdated. Instead of Snow White's classic, kind-hearted persona, she was reimagined as a modern, no-nonsense heroine who didn't need a man, or frankly, any of the fairy tale magic. Snow White's dreams of love and adventure were replaced with ambitions of becoming a leader and challenging patriarchal systems. The problem wasn't just the film's message, it was how forced and disingenuous it felt. Fans didn't see a fresh take on a classic, they saw a corporate agenda wrapped in CGI sparkles, leaving the charm and wonder of the original far behind. The fallout from Snow White's disastrous reception extends far beyond the theater and social media. Disney, which had invested a staggering $250 million into the remake, is now facing severe financial losses. The film's poor box office performance, coupled with the removal of merchandise from store shelves, has become a major blow to the company's bottom line. Major retailers have started pulling Snow White-themed products off the shelves, slashing prices by up to 80% in a desperate attempt to unload unsold merchandise. Parents aren't buying it, and kids aren't asking for it. Even collectors are giving it a pass. But the damage isn't just financial, it's cultural. Disney's brand, built on decades of magic and beloved classics, is now under fire. Both sides of the political spectrum have slammed the film, some accusing it of being woke nonsense, while others say it's an empty corporate take on feminism. Regardless of the label, the consensus is clear. Snow White isn't just a flop, it's a symbol of everything that's wrong with Hollywood's obsession with reboots and agenda-driven storytelling. As Disney continues to grapple with this colossal failure, the question remains, how much more damage can the brand endure before it starts losing its core audience? This remake didn't just fail to live up to expectations, it fundamentally challenged the values that fans had long associated with Disney. Behind the scenes, things inside Disney were spiraling out of control. As early screenings revealed the overwhelming backlash, the PR team went into crisis mode, working late into the night to try and manage the growing disaster. Sources claimed that panic set in as the scale of the negative response became undeniable. Disney's marketing team had clearly misjudged the mood, and now they were scrambling to contain the fallout before it damaged the brand irreparably. Meanwhile, CEO Bob Iger's frustration with the entire situation reportedly reached a boiling point. Insiders revealed that he was furious about how poorly the film was received, with some suggesting that he felt blindsided by the magnitude of the backlash. Emergency meetings were held behind closed doors, and Disney execs began preparing for the worst, fearing that this wasn't just a flop, but a brand-altering misstep. Morale within the company was plummeting, and employees began joking about the film's growing reputation as Snow Wrong. Despite the internal panic, Rachel Zegler remained defiant. She didn't backtrack or soften her tone. In fact, she continued to double down, liking tweets that praised her blunt honesty and dismissing her critics as outdated. As the PR crisis deepened, Zegler's refusal to apologize only seemed to make things worse. Disney's efforts to stop the bleeding weren't working, and as the media storm raged on, the damage was only getting worse. Now, with Snow White's disastrous reception continuing to dominate headlines, the question is, what happens next for Rachel Zegler and Disney? Can the company recover from this colossal misstep, or has the damage to its reputation gone too far? Disney is already dealing with financial losses, and the film's poor performance at the box office is just the tip of the iceberg. While theaters continue to pull the film from their schedules and merchandise sales plummet, the company must face the reality that this remake may have permanently damaged the Snow White brand.
Housewives throughout Germany made up these stories, and then the Brothers Grimm went around and collected them and found them. These are the creations of women, and they spoke into the minds of children, and they weren't forcing children to be anything. They were talking about things that children already know are there, like witches and evil and fear and true love. They weren't creating girls who wanted to fall in love. Girls want to fall in love. It's part of the beauty of life.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs because this is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work.
Like an honest golden employment opportunity for dwarves.
There's not that many scripts that come down the pike.
No, only 7 of them.
That has, and there's 7 dwarf jobs here. But because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right. This is demeaning. And they were like, what? We just want to work. We're dwarves.
Rachel Zegler spent her energy, her time, leading up to the release of this Snow White movie, shitting on the origin, right? And not to mention that the people that voted for Trump tend to be people that appreciate more wholesome values, traditional values, people that tend to have kids, right? Because that other side, right? The woke weirdos, the lizards, these people, they don't believe in having kids.
As for Rachel Zegler, she's at a crossroads in her career. She could try to reinvent herself, but after such a high-profile failure, that's easier said than done. She's gone from being Disney's promising new star to the face of one of its most embarrassing flops in decades. The public perception of her has shifted dramatically, from rising talent to the poster child for what went wrong with this remake. Whether or not she can bounce back from this PR nightmare is uncertain. For Disney, the future is equally uncertain. The company will need to reevaluate its approach to reboots and storytelling if it hopes to restore the trust of fans and recover from the damage caused by this movie. One thing is clear though, this Snow White debacle will haunt both Rachel Zegler and Disney for a long time. The Snow White remake was meant to be a celebration of Disney's legacy, a way to breathe new life into a beloved classic. Instead, it has become a masterclass in what not to do in Hollywood. From the disastrous reception in theaters to the viral backlash on social media, this film has not only failed at the box office, it has sparked a cultural conversation about the risks of rewriting timeless stories in a modern, agenda-driven light. The magic is gone, replaced by corporate messaging, and in its place is a brand on the brink of losing the trust of its audience. For Rachel Zegler, this is a career-defining moment. She could either reinvent herself or fade into Hollywood history as a cautionary tale about the dangers of alienating your audience. But regardless of her future, one thing is certain, the Snow White debacle will be remembered as a turning point in Disney's approach to reboots, legacy characters, and fan expectations. As we watch the fallout continue to unfold, one question remains. Can Disney recover from this, or will it be a long time before they regain the magic they once had? For now, the fairy tale has ended in disaster, and there's no happily ever after in sight. The only thing left to do is watch as the next twist in this real-life drama drops.